And then all of a sudden, along comes this little pill called ecstasy, changed everything.
Yeah.
Literally overnight. You could see the change on the dance floor, and you could see the change. There was immediate difference. Literally within a few weeks, it went from shirts and ties to dungarees and bandanas, and it just went like somebody just flicked a switch.
You have to get big incapacity venues to make any money at all. Our overheads have gone up, what, 25% since COVID?
And some.
And 30%, but just people don't understand that. And when you put the ticket prices out, they're like, why are they so expensive? It's like, it's not really expensive if you think about what's going into it.
There's a perfect way to describe how it's flipped. Is the old days, you could spend a quid and make a tenner. Now you have to spend a tenner to make a quid.
Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me on this week's podcast. I'll be really quick. 70% of the people that watch this podcast aren't subscribers. Podcasts are the hardest channels to build. I'd really, really appreciate your help just by clicking that subscribe button. It takes a few seconds and it's free. Thanks so much, and let's continue. Thank you for joining me today. At this busy time between Christmas and New Year. I never thought I'd get anyone on to do like a mid-Christmassy. It's a weird time of year, isn't it?
It's one of those where nobody knows what day it is, and we've had Christmas and New Year still to come. What day is it today?
I've had to look at my calendar today just to see what day's New Year's Day is, because one of our artists is playing New Year's Day, and I was like, when is she playing? And that's just like, it's really confusing me. But you own a bar as well, so you've got Christmas, then you've got the weekend, so you must have been quite busy then.
Yeah, it's been mental. I've got a couple of bars now. I started off with the little rum bar.
Yes, I remember that.
Called Fubar's Rum Bar, and that's in its 5th year now, and that's doing really well. And then this time last year, August last year, I took the plunge into doing a 90s-esque reunion and called it the Retro Lounge.
I've been following that.
They're both only 200 capacity. So, but the way the industry's gone recently, I didn't want a big old shed and a big old, like they will talk about the Syndicate, I'm sure, but the good old days of those kind of big sheds. I wanted something a bit more manageable. And yeah, they've done phenomenal, done really, really good over Christmas, and obviously New Year's Eve's just around the corner.
Yeah, amateur night, everyone's out.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the countdown is on.
Yeah. Do you know what? I've been looking at social media as I do. I'm feeling it for some of these promoters who are just doing these big nights, and I'm just like, are you fucking crazy? Because it's just such I've done one in the UK on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, and it ruined Christmas because it wasn't selling particularly well, and I was just like, it just stressed me out all Christmas, and I'm just
it is a tough old game sometimes. I mean, the glory days of you could put one DJ on and ram a place out, they've gone.
I think it's gone full circle now. I think these micro parties are where it's going, where it's like the 200-300 cap parties with one decent DJ who's coming through, and people are actually going there for the music. They're banning phones, they're bringing the lights down, and they're having a proper rave. I think that's those pop-up parties, I suppose.
Totally.
And that's definitely coming back, and it's something that I'm working on with an artist at the moment, because she's very popular in London, and I'm just like, why wait until you get booked for these bigger gigs when you can literally start doing them yourself?
Yeah, 100%.
You
know,
know,
started, wasn't it? It was always small school, do it with your mates.
Yeah,
grow it.
Does it remind you of anything in the 90s? You know,
Well,
it's gone full circle, and I that's why I wanted to speak to you, because how many years have you been in this game now?
Well, the first time I ever put a tune on a record in a club was 1991. So 35 years.
Similar years, yeah. Mine was
I was obsessed with music before that anyway, and been in nightclubs. But the first time I actually played a set myself was Easter 1991. So
And have you always been from Blackpool?
no, I was born in. You wouldn't hear it in my voice now, but I was born in Glasgow. All my family are Scottish.
Really?
The Glasgow in the early 70s was a bit rough. So
Oh yeah, yeah,
um, I think I came to Blackpool in 78 or 79. And I was still, I mean, how old was I then? Sort of 7, 8 years old. But growing up in Blackpool as a kid, it was like Disneyland, mate.
yeah.
It was amazing.
That was its peak time, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
absolute. I mean, I've spent a bit of time in Blackpool over the years, and I've got some friends who live there still, and it's amazing, and it still has its peak summer months now, obviously. But do you still have? Is it quite a struggle in the winter for a lot of people now?
Yeah, it's a seasonal town.
Yeah,
It's still got those seasonal fluctuations. It'll get busy from Easter, generally till the end of September, October. Halloween's quite a big thing still. November's a bit of a tough old month, and then Christmas goes berserk, and then January 1st, down it goes.
yeah, yeah. We have it here on the island where it's just like you got to struggle. You just got to make your money when you can, you know. But so with your bars, I take it a lot of yours are locals then.
Yeah, I aim it specifically at locals because I'm very well known in the town for doing stuff in nightclubs for the past 35 years. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I'm just using that, my personality and my reputation to try and further them. I mean, the rum bar's a complete departure from musically from what I normally do. It's R&B, gay, dance hall, all that kind of stuff. So when I opened that, a lot of people questioned me. They were like, "Why have you opened a rum bar?" I said, "Well, I'm obsessed with rum. Always was the first drink I ever drank as a kid. When I say a kid, I think I was 17, 18 years old. But I got the Blackpool loves a theme.
Yeah.
You know, everything's themed. It's themed this, themed that. There's vodka bars, there's gin bars, there's this, that, and the other. There wasn't a rum bar. And I thought, well, the only kind of music that kind of goes with rum has got to be, you know, reggae. And
Reggae, yeah.
yeah. And so I called it Marley's originally.
That's right.
And funny story, and I'm not technically allowed to talk about it because there is an NDA involved, but let's just say the name itself created a few problems for me. But it was quite flattering that the name itself and the reason why I had to change it, that they found out about me. So, the only thing I probably can say is that Bob Marley's descendants know exactly who I am. Which is nice.
That's crazy. That is actually really fucking crazy when you think about it,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of my first questions because I've seen you doing a lot of the stuff at the retro bar, and I was like, oh, is the retro bar changed from the rum bar? So they're actually two separate businesses. So you've managed to go all the way through and actually open one bar, remain successful, then and open a second bar, and it's a fucking tough time in the club
Cool.
and bar industry at the
Well,
moment. Everything's
rum bar,
closing.
it is. It's the hardest time. I mean, even as a person who puts on parties and festivals and events, it is the hardest time I've ever known. And I'm still dipping my toe in what's new. So it's not just old school. So I had a guy called Justin J on at the bar a month ago, fresh out of these, like hot as anything at the moment. Just played Glitch Festival in Malta. The young lads around the area, they were saying, "Oh, we need this DJ." He's from Los Angeles and he's hot. He's on his way up. I think he did Boiler Room and a few bits. So the fact that we got somebody like that to Blackpool, but again, it's getting it smaller. 200 capacity is almost too small to make good money, but it's big enough to not lose any.
Especially when you've got the bar as well,
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of these conglomerates now have come in and they've taken over, whereas they're not the brands don't matter as much anymore. It's the DJ's the brand, and they'll book the DJ and they'll have the night, so the club takes the night and the bar, and the promoters are left out to dry a little bit. And unfortunately, because of the cost of DJs now, you have to get big fucking capacity venues to make any money at all. Our overheads have gone up 25% since COVID,
and some.
and 30%. But just people don't understand that. And when you put the ticket prices out, they're like, "Why are they so expensive?" It's like, it's not really expensive if you think about what's going into it, and you could go out for, it's like 8 hours or 10 hours, and you could go out for a dinner for less than this, you know. And it's just like,
The old days, there's a perfect way that to describe how it's flipped is the old days. You could spend a quid and make a tenner. Now you have to spend a tenner to make a quid.
yeah.
That's the reality of the industry at the moment. And obviously, somebody like myself who's booked Calvin Harris, David Guetta, Armin van Buuren, you know, Eric Prydz. I booked everybody back in the day where you could get reasonable fees and
Mm,
make good money on it, where they were happy. They were getting good fees. You know, we're talking tens of thousands. We're not talking hundreds of thousands like these are now.
they are now, yeah.
But it's you just, I mean, some of them are on millions of dollars, millions of euros.
You just like, even if you've got a 3,000 capacity venue, you cannot book an Armin van Buuren or a Tiesto or anything like that. People were like, why can't you just book that DJ for that venue? It's, well, it's not big enough. You
No,
lose a fort. And some of the clubs here on Zurcher in Croatia are big fucking venues, big venues. And they used to have Tiesto, they used to have Swedes, they used to have Armin, they used to have Carl Cox. Well, they still have Carl Cox for Sonas because he comes down. But they used to have these big nights, and there's no way they could get them now. You know,
no.
it is, and these are like 3,000, 4,000 capacity clubs, and it's just the
The other
fees have gone huge.
Yeah, it's not, and it's not just the fees. When obviously somebody that's been invested in the UK for quite a while and done Ibiza and was mainly in Mallorca, yeah, and places like that. The issue isn't necessarily the fees. If you have a look at the rise of dance music across the world, you know, you've all of a sudden from 52 Saturdays of a year and bank holidays that you needed to fill in the UK. Now you've got in South America, you've got Australia, you've got Asia, you've got India. Now India's becoming really big at the
Mm-hmm.
moment.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got all these continents and huge big cities around the world that are throwing huge amounts of money at events and gigs. I go to Thailand quite a lot. The Thai government have just invested something like 50 million pounds in Thai baht equivalent in bringing EDC, you know, what's the Miami one, Ultra. I
Ultra,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
Creamfield cancelled. I don't know why, but they did have Creamfields in
Well,
Bangkok.
they had Circo
But
Loco there last year, didn't they? Which
yeah, my daughter went to
that
it.
made a lot of made a lot of noise. I remember that, and people were talking about it for weeks coming up to it. And I was,
Daughter flew from the UK. My daughter's last year, 22 years old, flew to via China on China Eastern Airlines just so she could get a cheap flight. I think he was flying for like 36 hours, but Peggy Goo was on and Jamie Jones
yeah,
and
yeah.
you know DD Turner. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, in Phuket. Like you'd never in a million years. I mean, I worked in Thailand for quite a while, and you'd never say if 20 years ago, if you said all the world's biggest DJs will go to Phuket, I'd be like, no, no.
Yeah, it's complete. It's completely flipped, isn't it? Completely flipped. So, what your first paid gig was in what year? 1991? Did you say?
Yeah.
Fucking
Do you know,
hell.
I was lucky in a way. I used to go in a big club called the Palace. And the resident DJs in there were really lovely guys. And I used to say, oh, I'm a DJ. And I'm like, if I could see a picture of myself aged 18, 17, 18, going up to these industry standard DJs going, I'm a DJ. They must have looked at me and gone, get back to school, you know. But there was a bit of luck. One of the DJs in a club downstairs from the Palace, it was called the Love Shack. And he'd had a fallout with the owner and he'd left. And the owner's like, I need a DJ, I need a DJ. And none of the Palace lot would do it because the Palace was 3,000 capacity Superclub then, you know. And he'd come running over, you're a DJ, aren't you a DJ? I said, yeah. So go downstairs, see the guy. He needs a DJ. So off I ran downstairs. An old Scouse guy called Albie, who's sadly not with us anymore. He looked at me and went, "You don't look like a DJ." I said, "What's a DJ supposed to look like?" You know,
Mm,
1991. Bearing in mind, the rave scene was just edging out in Blackpool. There was clubs that were doing really really big stuff, and he just said, "Have you got the tunes?" I said, "Well, yeah, of course I have." You know, I was confident and bold and brash. I said, "But you need to pay for my taxi. I need to go home, get my tunes, get my headphones, and I'll be back in 20 minutes." So we did it, and I did it, and it was a little place called the Love Shack, and it was really known for being quite ravey. So when we talk like, you know, the LFOs and the Prodigies
Mm.
and SL2 at the time, 91, wasn't it? And all the sort of the early rave stuff coming through. And I'll never forget the big track at the time was Oceanic Insanity,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What?
Dream Tripping, you know, and
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and I think I played it 4 times that night just, just because it got that reaction,
And
you know.
you could then, couldn't you? You could do all sorts of shit back then, and people wouldn't care. Because I mean,
It makes me laugh when people talk about mixing in key and all that. Mixing in key, nobody knew what key it was back then.
yeah, it's
Not
beyond
a
me.
clue.
I've just got some new equipment back here, and people are talking about this, and I used to play vinyl, and I can figure out how to mix on the digital stuff, and I'm looking at all these other buttons that surround it, and I'm like, what is this shit? Synchronize and the just I just blown away, and I'm speaking to my friend Amber D. She's going to actually show me around.
Really well, yeah.
Yeah, she's going to show me around properly on what each thing does, because I'm doing some work with Amber, and she said I'll show you, because she teaches people, and I said, you know, this stuff isn't easy. I said the actual basics of mixing has not changed. What sound were you into most of all back then?
It was, do you know, the big sound around Blackpool and the Northwest at the time was Italian house music.
Ah,
It was
okay.
all very uplifting, very piano driven. You know, people used to just come up to you in the club and go, "Have you got any piano?" That was the
Really?
not, "Have you got any house? Have you got any acid? Have you got any rave?" It was just, you know, Blackpool, and I'd say, you know, Bolton, Blackburn. You know, when in 91, everybody around here talks very fondly about the Hacienda, but Hacienda was very rough at the time. And it was going off, but there was a lot of drugs, a lot of gangster led nonsense, you know, control of the doors and things like that. Whereas Blackpool had about 6 or 7 different venues, and each venue had its own little sound. So if you wanted the real sort of driving Italo, real sort of Euro beat, then that was Sequins and Zone. And that was at Zone was at Jenks, Sequins was opposite Central Pier. Oz had a night that was like house music. You had the Village and this other club, I forget that before it was called the Village, and you had the Palace, which the Palace had Laurent Garnier, Carl Cox, Group Rave Generator. You know, Sasha was playing down the road at Shabu.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
going off in Blackpool like I've never experienced anything, and it was a hook, you know, and that's what got me into it. Just seeing all these different nights all popping up out of nowhere, because Blackpool was a very cheesy discotheque town.
yeah.
Every venue
I
you had to
remember.
wear shirt and tie, you know, trousers and shoes. They all had a dress code. All of these clubs all had dress codes, and then all of a sudden, along comes this little pill called ecstasy, changed everything
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
literally overnight. You know, because I was going into the Palace in 88, 89 when Michaela Strachan and Pete Wardman were in there doing Hitman and Her, and you had Kylie Minogue and Jason Donovan and the London Boys, and you know, and it was quite cheesy, but the DJs were playing a little bit of the 49ers Touch Me, and you know, and Snap Rhythm as a Dancer
Yeah,
came out, and
yeah,
I'll never forget. I mean, Pump Up the Jam, when I first heard Pump Up the Jam Technotronic, it was like, this is not right for this club. What? This is just like crazy. What is this?
yeah,
You know, and it all started from a little bit of chart success that Steve Silk Hurley had with Jack Your Body. I think once that hit and it went off, you could see the change on the dance floor, and you could see there was immediate difference. Literally within a few weeks, it went from shirts and ties to dungarees and bandanas, and
yeah.
it just went like somebody just flicked a switch, and it was all because of ecstasy, and it just changed the atmosphere so much. And to be there when that happened, mate, honestly, that is, I really, you know, I know us older crowd and older DJs, we talk about the good old days, but to actually witness it happening was almost like the birth of something that was new and exciting. I can only imagine it was how the people who like disco, hence Studio
Yeah, yeah,
54,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you know, that when the disco scene came in, it was, you know, highly documented in America. You know, disco is the devil's music, and they tried to ban it, and they were,
Same with electronic rave music here, you know, the
it
sun.
was so enlightening and so inspiring, really inspiring, just to see that level of energy on the dance floor.
I was fortunate enough to be in the same position in London to see it.
Yeah.
I was very much into rave. I've followed
Mm.
like the the elevations and the dreamscapes and all that palaver. Then I found house music just through Strawberry Sunday, and house was just really. I'd never heard anything like it, really, and just to see it explode. And then we look back now, I can see why everybody went out every weekend, because it was new. This was new. It was a new drug. It was a new music. Everything was evolving. It's not new anymore. You know, this has been around for 30 odd years, and if not longer. And this is what I keeps from repeats in a lot of the podcasts. It was just such a new thing. I guess it was like we were a bit addicted to it. I remember not being able to go out on a Saturday night. If I could go out on a Saturday night, I would be miserable. Literally, absolutely miserable. Not just FOMO, not just like fear of missing out or whatever they call it. I'd be proper angry about not going out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was where, because you just felt like you were missing out on your family partying, because
I still had a day job. I was packing biscuits at Burton's Biscuits
yeah,
in the day. Um, and I flipped burgers at McDonald's when it first opened in Blackpool, and you know, and I had an obsession of buying records. And then that whole saying of living for the weekend, that's what we did. The
absolutely.
difference at the time when it all kicked off, all of a sudden, a Tuesday night had popped up and they had Graham Park on from the Hacienda on a Tuesday. There was TTF came down from Scotland on the Glasgow Fair, the time frequency. And all of a sudden there's a Thursday, there's a Monday, there's
There's a
a
Mondays, yeah. I remember
but
Gardening Club had a Monday. There was Thursdays for techno nights, and there's
it just
all sorts of stuff going on. We were
yeah,
spoiled for
an
choice.
exciting time for sure. It was like nothing we'd ever experienced.
Can I ask you a question? The venues you just mentioned before, 6 or 7 of them, are any of them still open?
Uh no.
It's such a
No,
shame,
there's
isn't it?
no.
Such, yeah.
The only one that's almost still open is what I did a little talk about it the other day. So it's a venue called Trilogy, and it was originally
Yeah,
called
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've heard of this.
and then it was Rumours, and Rumours was a bit of a fun pub in the 80s. Um, and it then became a nightclub. But most of the clubs are still there, which is weird. Sequins is like a time capsule. It's still there. And I'm really begging the owner of the building to let me in and see if there's anything we can do. There's some guys in Liverpool called Steve Cocky and Lee Butler who've resurrected the old 5-1 and the State, and they've gone into these old abandoned nightclubs and revived them. Oz is still in Blackpool. That's now a show bar, but I went in the other week, and in the back was still the DJ box, and there was still a Technics deck in the DJ box. I was like, wow. The Palace is still there, but there's a museum, and it was supposed to be a 5-star hotel. That's still sitting there. Sadly, the Syndicate got knocked down. That's a car park. But the Love Shack is still there in the basement of where the Blackpool Museum is, but it'll just be a basement, which is great. Just let me in. Let me put a sound system and a strobe. I'll just take over.
What was said to lose? You know, there's so many empty buildings now. And so, when did you decide that you were going to be going into music professionally, as a profession? Is it just a natural progression into it?
I was a little bit unlucky after my first run of gigs. Before I started DJing, I signed up to be a sailor in the Royal Navy. So I was, and I got my call up papers literally 2 weeks after I did my first gig. So I'd started doing the Love Shack regularly, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, you've got a decision to make here. You either crack on and do this, or join the Royal Navy and have a proper career. And you know, I'd signed on the dotted line for 22 years. So off I went to the Royal Navy, But they must have thought I was an absolute dickhead because I turned up at the railway station in Plymouth with a little bag of clothes and 2 boxes of records. I'm not joking. I took my records with me. So, and I remember the divisional officer saying to me, "What the fuck, Adam? What are you doing? You can't. What do you think you are?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm a DJ." "You're not a DJ now, son. Get in that bus." He started shouting at me. I was into part 1 training then, and I never touched them until I got to my part 2 establishment. And I went into the every shore base, whether it be Navy, Army, Air Force, every shore base has a club, has a like a social club.
Yeah.
They do bingo in the day or whatever, but they turn it into a nightclub at night. I didn't know this at the time, so I've walked into HMS Dryad in Portsmouth, and I see a guy setting up a load of DJ stuff, and I thought, of course, I'm going to go and talk to him. And to this day, he's one of my best mates, called Pat Connolly. And I just said, I'm a DJ, mate. And he's like looking at me going, "You what? You're in the mob. What are you here? Sonar, radar?" I said, "Yeah, I'm sonar, but I'm a DJ as well." And I said, "Do you want a hand? And I'll help you set up. And if you want to, I'll do a little bit with you later." And he was just like, "Yeah, go on then." I think he was just calling my bluff. And so I started doing gigs in the Royal Navy, weirdly enough, and
How
getting paid,
crazy.
and did a few clubs around Portsmouth. And
Portsmouth's got a good scene. I'm from
yeah,
Southampton.
it's really good at the time.
I'm from Southampton, so I know Portsmouth really well, and
Yeah,
I know the
yeah.
history of some of the stuff that went down in Portsmouth, and some of the raves they had there were insane.
On the pier raves were legendary.
And they've got that fort out in the
Mm.
water. Is it Portsmouth or Southampton? They've
Yeah,
got the
it's
fort.
called. The name will pop into my
Yeah,
head.
it's like a little. I'll pop up some B-roll. It's like they were created.
You know it. Yeah,
They were created for military defense, weren't they?
defenses. Yeah,
Yeah, and someone bought one privately and turned it into a club, and you had to
brilliant.
get a boat out there, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know whether they still use it now.
I think they did up until recently. I think just before COVID, they were still doing events on there. The name will come to me.
They were
but,
doing
yeah,
some it was called sub bass or something crazy like that. But I remember, yeah, I loved the scene down because my dad was involved with the South Coast rave scene. And so you were Royal Navy. Another person who was Royal Navy was Danny Whittle. Is that right? He was Falklands. So enough respect. How long did you stay in the Navy for?
2 years.
2 years.
Basically, and talking of Falklands, yeah, it was the Falklands that made me want to get out, to be honest.
Okay.
I went there 10 years after the war. So I joined the Navy in May of 91, and I came out of May in 93. But I went to the Falklands and South Georgia in the winter of 92 into 93, and it was the most eye-opening, and like I wouldn't change it for the world. I look back on it now and I go, "Wow, I went to South Georgia. I went to whaling stations, and I sat with penguins and sea lions."
Yeah.
And it blows my mind that the thing that was harrowing was seeing when the tide was low, and seeing shipwrecks, and there was an actual, the remnants of the war.
Still
Knowing
there.
how many people died down there was quite sad. But the link for me with music was too strong to ignore, and I wanted to get out. I was like, right. I joined HMS Art Royal on loan draft, and I was DJing in Florida. I did a flight deck party. It had a radio station and a TV station, and I did my own rave show, 2 hours once a week on HMS Art Royal in the middle of the Atlantic.
I remember the Art Royal. It's obviously long gone now, isn't it? It's been replaced now.
And broken up, and they've got new. I think it's the Prince of Wales or the King, whatever it used to be. The Queen Elizabeth now is the big aircraft carriers.
Yeah.
But I went from aircraft carriers down to a little ship, and then went to the Falklands, and that was culture shock. I couldn't take it. It was like going from a cruise ship to a dinghy. It really was.
How do you get out of a military contract? Do you have to do a certain amount of time, and then I don't know how it all works.
I think my generation was the generation that you signed on the dotted line for 22 years, and you had to do a minimum of, I think it was 6, because they spend a lot of time and money and effort
training
to train, so they want a return, of course. Or you can, in the old days, you can pretend to be gay. is the honest answer. It was still illegal to be gay in the Royal Navy when I was in the Royal Navy. Can you believe that?
I remember the days. I remember when there was women just coming in and stuff like that, and it was causing a massive furore and stuff. But
Well,
yeah,
I was on Ark Royal when the first women took to sea, and it was carnage.
yeah. I remember the news. Yeah,
And everybody, and it was just. I mean, I got hold of one girl, and we just had a bit of fun, and we ended up going to the flag room where it's nice and comfy and quiet. And it was just carnage. There were pregnancies left, right, and centre. And they did. I don't think the government knew how to, or the leaders of the Navy at the time, the commanders in chief. I don't think they knew what they were getting themselves in for. And of course, it was always going to go that way with equality and
yeah.
with the way that the world is. But it was carnage, and much of witnessing the first dance music being played, witnessing the first Wrens at sea was hilarious, But it was carnage,
Some stories that can't be told.
Oh, well, I could. That's for another podcast, I think.
Yeah. No, I vividly, because I was quite interested in the sea, and because my family are all on worked on Cunard, the
Yeah,
QE2, all the way back from the Queen Elizabeth the first one. That's where my granddad met my grandma. So it's all through Cunard. So yeah,
brilliant.
I'm very fascinated with that side of it. So
Yeah.
You went from doing your Navy stuff, and then what happened?
So I just knew I had to be a DJ. Having done the gigs in the Navy, I was getting paid more being a DJ than I was getting my Navy salary. My Navy salary was about 450 quid a month, and I was getting probably 150, 180, 200 quid a gig in Portsmouth, and getting gigs everywhere I played.
And
So everywhere I
enjoying
went,
it.
I'd find a nightclub. So when we sailed from Portsmouth to America, the first stop was Fort Lauderdale. I went down to Las Olas Boulevard and knocked on a few doors, and I said, "Listen, there's 3,000 sailors on this ship, and get a good few of them down here tonight if you put me on." And I got paid $400 for a night's work.
And they drink.
Oh yeah, and it was rammed, and
they
dry.
Yeah,
And he was
absolutely.
like, "Hey man, how long can you stay?" I was like, "As long as the ship's here, mate."
Because
So yeah, coming in '93 after I left the Navy, I got a job at a club on the seafront in Blackpool, and started DJing 2 days after I came out of the Navy, and I've never stopped.
they do say that join the Navy and see the world, and
Yeah, I did.
and then the opportunities do open up.
Yeah, for
And,
sure.
yeah. No, it's fascinating. I bet they were biting your hand off when they had 3,000 thirsty naval
British DJ as well, who's serving on the ship, and then I could go back and get permission to make an announcement on the ship's tannoy. And it was a ship's company I hereby invited to. It was called the Candy Store, to the Candy Store nightclub on the seafront of Las Olas Boulevard. There's dancing girls, and British DJ Fubar is going to be on the decks, and it was absolutely rammed.
Well, it's still the same principle today. Like if we've got a holiday group and we'll go to a venue and we'll go, "I'll bring you 1,000 people, 500 people." They're like that.
Yeah, yes, please.
Happy days, and it still exists,
Yeah,
especially
sure.
especially with the Brits. I mean, any British, we see that with the festivals over here in Croatia. Without a doubt, they are the biggest spenders of the lot, and they will drink the place dry. We're not just talking the clubs; we're talking the supermarkets. And then when you see other festivals in town, they're a little bit younger demographic. You see the Germans, Austrians, they still drink, but there's still very much more. You see them shopping and they're like, oh, having a look at the beer and which type. The British are just like that. They're just pulling everything off.
I follow football away internationally, and I see it there where whichever teams are there, they're begging for the English to come to their cities.
Yes.
Like, please just make England come. Like the last Euro I was in Germany, and we played in Cologne, we played in Dusseldorf. They were out of that, please, 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 let it be the English. Scottish are the same, the Irish are the same.
Yeah, anyone from this part of the world. I mean, you're totally right, and I know a lot of the girls who work the counters and the shelves in the supermarkets. They're different brands, and they're like, "When are they going home? All I've been doing is packing," and they don't work nights. They're just doing it through the day, and as it's going up for the day, it's just like. And these are this is this generation. When Hideout and all that lot first started 10, 12 years ago, it was the older generation, and they were bigger drinkers. Because are you finding that at all, that it's an older generation in your bar? Or
well, when I used to do events for the younger crowd, it was always a case of the more drugs they took, the more water we sold. What I'm finding with, like, when I've done the festivals, Blackpool Festival and Back to the Old Pool, the drinking culture, they'll probably still take drugs, cocaine and ecstasy, whatever, but they're knocking the shit out of the beers and ciders. And I had a really nice moment where I did an event at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. That's 150 years old, nearly 200 years old. And I did a Back to the Old Pool there, and it was only, I think, about 1,500 people. Clubland did it the year before and had 2,500 people. It was booming. And they said to me, it's the biggest bar spend we've ever had. And because it's the over 30s, the over 40s. And that translates well into my new bar, the Retro Lounge, because Fubar's Rum Bar is more aimed at a younger demographic. I'd say over 25s, whereas the Retro Lounge is aimed at over 30s, over 40s. And the difference in bar take is pretty biblical.
Yeah, I mean, we get that with the stuff that we do, God's Kitchen and stuff like that, because the demographic is 35 plus, and the bar spends are just
mental,
crazy. Tables, they're just throwing money at stuff because.
But I'm 52 years old now. I'm off to Thailand for 3 weeks in January. We're going to go see Carl Cox in Phuket. Tables and all that. I'm a dance floor freak. I'm a customer. I'm the kind of guy you'd want all the time at your race, because I'll go and be a punter. I was never really bothered about the VIP side of things until I got to this age, and then I'm like, oh no, I can't dance all night. I need somewhere to sit down. The old back's killing me. The knees have gone. The legs have gone. So yeah, I get that. I get that the bottle service thing. I've done Vegas plenty of times, and it just. I know you get a lot of this with Ibiza, when they talk about the VIP culture kind of killing it a little bit. At the end of the day, they need that to pay for everything.
Yeah.
As do we. We sell a lot of tables at my bar. We've got John Please Women on at the bar on New Year's Eve, and we've sold more tables for that than we did for Justin J. We'd sold one table for Justin J. We've sold all of our tables for John Please Women, because it's an older crowd and they want somewhere to sit and put the coat. And
mate, because I don't drink anymore, I am in absolute agony by the time I leave Amnesia in the morning, 6, 7 o'clock. I'm just like, my feet, I have to make sure I've got the right shoes on. I've got to make sure I've got the right thick soles, and my feet are killing me the next day, because, well, obviously when you're drinking before, you wouldn't feel it, and you're younger and you're flying around the club, and my legs are just, they're dead by the time I get home.
Relate.
I think it's definitely, even though I keep myself fit. So talk to me. There's a couple of things I want to talk to you about. You've run the festivals in Blackpool, Back to the Old Pool. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I've got
it right, haven't I? How did that? Tell me all about that.
Again, it was an ambition of mine. Nobody's ever been allowed to do any events of that kind of style in Blackpool for a while, especially not on the promenade. And I'll tell you for why. There's some people might remember some high-profile ecstasy drug deaths in the 90s.
Yes.
One of them was Blackpool. It was all over the newspapers, and the council and the police and licensing regulations obviously came down quite heavy on everybody, and it killed the scene for a good few years in Blackpool, until the Syndicate came along. Really, Syndicate came along and changed the map. And at the tail end of the Syndicate, I had ambitions to do a festival, but it just the timing. Everything's about timing, you know that. Doing the Amnesia events after 25 years, you know, seeing what you guys did over there. So all the timing's perfect.
Yeah.
So when I got a chance to do a festival, I did it in a field the first year near Stanley Park, just in the middle of Blackpool on the outskirts. And we did it really well. We had a helicopter landing pad for the hospital, and you know, because that's the field that they used to land in. And we did everything right, did everything by the book, and it went really well. I went to the council that winter of 2016. I said, I really want to do it again. They said, yeah, we'd love you to do it again. It was really good, you know, all positive, no incidents. The helicopter landed while your event was going on, and it was all dealt with really professionally. No problem at all. And they straight away went, how about doing it on the promenade in front of the tower? I was like, what? A rave on the prom? Are you serious?
Yeah.
In full view of the public? Yeah, whatever. And I thought I was being punked. I really did. So anyway, we got round the table, and you know, it came with a lot of headaches. I'll give you that,
But it
because
did. I bet
imagine doing,
logistically, it's not
yeah,
easy. I can figure out in my
yeah.
head straight away. That is
Well, the
just
first,
crowd movement alone.
the main factor was in a field. You can have big marquees and big tops and all that. You can't do that on the prom. It's concrete. So you can do it, but you think about the wind as well. We're right on the Irish Sea, and it has got windbreakers, but you have to use what do they call them? ICBs, big water tanks. I forget what you call them. The big water tanks for ballast and weight.
Yeah.
And so it added on so much more cost, but we made it work. And you know, we lost money in year one and made money in year two. Year three, oh, I still have shivers about it now. It was the most amazing thing that happened. We did a 3-day event. We did Faithless, Roger Sanchez, Example, Danny Howard, a few other bits on the Friday, and it wasn't selling. I was like, well, we've got Faithless on. Why is this not selling?
Yeah.
What the hell? And it was only because it was England, Sweden in the bloody World Cup the day after.
Football's a killer.
Oh,
It's a killer. Every year, I mean, me and my partner Nick Ferguson, as you know, we often discuss football dates because we know how badly it affects sales, and I've especially in Ibiza, when it obviously got the World Cup year this year, and people are going, oh, it's not going to affect anything. It will. It does
yeah,
every single year. Every single year, the numbers in Ibiza are affected by the World Cup, and I think it's in America this time, isn't it?
yeah. So the times are favourable
Mm.
because it's 3, 5, and 8 p.m. in America, and obviously because of the time difference, with it being that way and not Eastern,
Yeah.
it's sort of 5, 8, and 10 midnight on a UK time, so another hour. So yeah, it's favourable times. What it did that year for us was the Saturday of the day of the game. I had to go to the police and basically say I need a big screen on the site, because if I
Yeah.
don't show the game on my festival site, nobody's going to come until after the game.
And they're going to be pissed, and they're not going to turn up. You
I'd
know,
rather deal with it within the boundaries of the festival site. We've got everybody in a more manageable position. If you've then all of a sudden, if I've done 5,000-6,000 tickets in that size of venue, and they're all off in pubs and bars, it's going to be carnage in the streets. So they agreed with me, thankfully, and we showed it at the ground. There's a funny photo which I'll send to you, because it would be really
yes.
good. It'd be really good. And it's so when England were playing, I put a Scottish DJ on. Graham Park, the legend from Hacienda.
Wow,
And
I
I've
was
got
only
a
looking
funny,
at a video of his earlier. Actually, that's weird.
oh, mate, he cursed me. I mean, me and Graham are really good pals, but I tell you something, he was the scowl that he gave me as I got on the mic and announced England 1, Sweden 0, and then England 2, Sweden 0. He's just looking at me like, you in arsehole. But again, that saved our festival on the Saturday, and it was 32 degrees that day. It was so bloody hot. And it was the day of the Southport Air Show. Southport's about about 15 miles across the bay from
Yeah.
Blackpool.
Yeah.
So after the England match had finished, there's such a euphoria. The atmosphere was amazing. All of a sudden, the red arrows flew over my festival, and then stunt planes drew 2-0 in the sky. And I was like,
As
I
if,
never planned it, but I told everybody I did.
yeah, of course you did. Because Global Gathering, they actually got them in one year,
Yeah.
and they had the red arrows go over, and that was all planned. And another one of their things that I've spoken to
Well, yeah,
AJ Gibson
moment,
about. So yeah,
moments that people remember, George, remember that festival you did and the red arrows flew over? Yeah, it cost me a fortune.
so did your sales improve once you said you could get a? How did you
Yeah, oh,
advertise?
totally, because
What year was that?
2018, so yeah, the Friday, what we did to resurrect the Friday was we said, look, if you buy a ticket for the Saturday, we'll give you one for the Friday for free. And then if you just want to come on the Friday, we'll give you a ticket for free anyway. So we did it as a gesture, because we knew the money was in Old School on the Saturday, because it was back to the old pool on the Saturday. And on the Friday, we tried to be a bit more upfront, by having the likes of, Example and Danny Howard and Mason Maynard and people like that. We went a bit more housey, whereas the Saturday was just pure classics, and it was Oakenfold and Judge Jules and Murillo and people
And
like
they're
that.
massive risks, aren't they? I mean, there's the
£340,000 that cost that year.
sleepless nights. Yeah, it's just
It's like,
sometimes I read comments in on social media, and I just think you've got no idea how much this is
no,
costing to put on, and you're asking for the impossible and pulling a lineup apart where the lineup is insane, and also people don't understand that not all DJs are available on all dates.
of course.
Not all DJs will want to play an event. Not all DJs are musically aligned with the DJs you've already booked. There's
The date you want them for, yeah.
and honestly, why haven't you booked this person? Why haven't you booked that? And it's just like, well, you don't know whether we actually have tried to book them, but
Mm,
and they're in a studio. Like we've had this on many occasions where a lot of the DJs who are producers are actually in studio sessions,
yeah,
or
true.
on the other side of the world, or it's
Yeah.
their mum's birthday.
The planets have to align for it. I think the thing of doing an event in Blackpool in the summer, and this is why we had a lot of success with Syndicate, was, and certainly back in the Syndicate days, because Blackpool Airport was open and there were
Right.
direct flights from Ibiza to Blackpool. Believe it or
So,
not, it had Amsterdam Blackpool, it had Marbella Blackpool, it had Malaga, it had Mallorca. So we had such a good time to offer music to people, because we could tap into the Ibiza market in the summer and the sort of touring warehouse market in the winter. One thing I'd like to say, which I know it grinds a lot of gears of promoters at the moment, back in the day of the Syndicate, which we're only talking 25 years ago when it opened, to do double ups with Liverpool, with Manchester. I would be constantly doubling up talent with the Warehouse Project and with what's the big night in Liverpool? Oh, with Youssef, I forget their name. Circus.
Circus,
Circus.
yes.
So we'd always be doubling up talent. And one thing that really boils my piss at the moment is the level of control, the level of exclusivity now that these big people have. You just cannot get anybody anymore. And even if you could afford the money, if you could afford the astronomical DJ fees, I'll give you an example. Fisher, somebody like that. If he plays at Park Life, there's 6 months either side. 6 months. So 3 months each side. He will not be allowed to play within 100 miles of Manchester.
Yeah, and also with a lot of these corporations, you'll find that they'll book them in not just for one gig, they'll book them in for 5 gigs. Say,
Yeah.
if you're a corporate, I'm not going to name any corporates, we all know who they are, but they'll book them for A, B festival, CD festival, B, so they won't just get one booking for the year, they'll get 5 or 6 bookings, but
Big money.
you're not allowed to play for anyone else.
No.
Now that's not a lot of people don't know that as well, which
No,
is annoying. And
it's
obviously,
what's
you
killed nightclubs in the UK. It really has.
and I remember it wasn't such a big thing down in the south, and I never forget when I moved. I would come back from Ibiza, and I went to live in Manchester for a year, and somebody said, so and so can't play here because of, I think it was a booking with Warehouse Project, and I went, what do you mean? They go, oh, they've got exclusivity of the area, and I went, what, that happens? And it was all new to me. I was like, what? Fucking hell. And I think from then, that was 10 years ago, it's got a lot worse.
Oh, it's now it's virtually impossible. It really is. I
Yeah.
mean, we're 50 miles away from Manchester. We're 45 miles or 20 miles as the crow flies to Liverpool, and anything now that's got, whether it be Warehouse Project, whether it be Park Life or Creamfields, anything that's Live Nation, basically, sorry to have to call them out, but it is mainly Live Nation gigs. Live Nation own Lytham Festival down the road. So even trying to get normal talent like pop talent or rock talent or anything like that, it's nearly impossible.
Yeah. I mean, luckily for us, we've got Nick, who's a very seasoned
Yeah, cool.
booker, and
Great. His little black book is amazing.
he's got because he books so much talent, and he's got and that's why he's capable of pulling together lineups like God's Kitchen,
For
which
sure.
I assure you is not easy.
No, I know.
And people just think we can get our Armin and Tiesto, things like that, and you're just like, you always
Seeing Tiesto going back to trance at the moment, and that announcement, and that it made me chuckle, because it's only going to be festivals. It's not, you're not going to get Tiesto playing a 2,000-3,000 capacity club like he used to do. He's
no
not going to do.
no way. Trolling, the fucking trolling. I mean, I mean, I speak to a lot of women DJs on this particular podcast, and I like to, because they've got a lot of history, and one of them said to me they used to feel massively included in the scene. There was never any division, but since social media, there has been a division. Now they feel like they're being pushed aside, whereas before that wasn't happen. The misogynies come in, and the real it's just people are very angry, and they're just taking it out on promoters, on girl DJs, because of, I don't know, maybe it's their own lack of something. But I know I've seen you've got it before. You had it
Yeah,
recently,
I've been getting it since the first. I could never understand any level of abuse aimed at somebody that's there to entertain people. That to me, that I cannot compute how weird that is. This is a person who's dedicating their life to entertain people, and you're just shooting them down. What's that about?
Yeah.
So when it first started happening to me, it's horses for courses, whether you be male, female, trans, whatever, it doesn't matter. If you become popular and you're thrust into the spotlight for any reason whatsoever, people are there to not only big you up and praise you, but to pull the bones out of you. And there's just there's a weird element of people just sitting at home and going, oh, I don't like her. Oh, I don't like him. Oh no, you're shit. Oh, you shouldn't. You're just there, just jiggling your tits, and that's what it's about. You're just a button pusher. And I watched your podcast with Amber, and I've seen the level of abuse she's had in the past as
Unbelievable.
well.
It's unbelievable.
And it's crazy. I mean, I'm probably. I know this sounds weird and odd, but I'm probably lucky that I'm a guy. How lucky am I that I don't get that level of shit from people, because they don't look at it, and it is full on misogynistic. It is full on jealousy on the part of, it's probably some rotten old DJ that didn't make it in his life, and he's probably don't want to see women do better than him. And I suppose it falls into football. It falls into many different categories. We're talking about what affects us.
Yeah.
And what affects us is trolling has become almost pandemic on social media. You can't stop it now. There's no legislation in place to protection unless it goes into full blown stalker,
slander type thing, you know, and which it can do. It can do.
she's
I
had it
mean,
all. She's had
we
stalkers. She's had bloody.
we struggle with it with some big events because you just have the element where you cannot please everyone, and they'll be very, very vocal about it. And the problem is you can't reason with them.
No.
Unfortunately, if you're putting on events for thousands of people,
Yeah,
A,
you're
you
not gonna
can't
please.
please everyone. B, you can't always get the lineups. C, it's just you cannot physically do what every person wants there. And also,
I had it.
after an event as well, if someone's had a shit night, you know,
Oh,
not say if you've got 4,000 people in a club like Amnesia, you're going to have most people enjoy the night, but someone might have a stinker.
yeah,
And they'll go on social media and they'll fucking
pull
throw it
apart.
in. They'll put
Yeah,
it apart as if it's the promoter and it's a promotion's fault if they've had a bad night. And I find that those negative threads, they get more traction than anything positive.
yeah. That's the sad part of it.
Yeah.
Is it usually the negativity surrounding events? I mean, I've had death threats. The fuck? I used to live in a log cabin, and somebody said, log cabins burn faster than houses, and you
Yeah.
got to be careful. I just thought, and all their venting their anger and their frustration about is their own insecurities, and we know about this, and we could talk about this till the cows come home. How people can pull apart. I mean, James Hype's a good example. I've known James since he was a young DJ scratching a living in.
Called it on him years ago. I said he's going
Yeah,
to be a fucking superstar. I said
yeah,
I told an agent to sign him. Right
yeah,
when this is before he's with Surge, I think is he
yes.
with Surge, and this is before Surge, and heard about this guy called James, and I was listening to some of his stuff, and I've forgotten who it was. In fact, I remember who it was, and I'm not going to embarrass him. I said,
Mhm.
please listen to this guy and get them on your books, and
Yeah,
look what's happened.
yeah, for sure. But the level of trolling he gets
Yeah.
now, the level of abuse, I watch it and I'm like, wow. And James just
Yeah.
rolls with the punches. The whole thing of "who does this" was his slogan, like "who does this," and it riled a lot of old DJs up for sure.
Now he does it on
Yeah,
purpose.
people coming on and going, "James Zabilia does this." That's just like, guys, you've got to understand something here. He's not reinventing the wheel. This is just his time. That's all it
And
is.
also
Of
he's creating a huge amount of engagement on his socials, you know,
course he is.
and as Mike from Manumission said, when they're in their heyday, all publicity, whether it's good or bad,
100%.
is good. I remember that on Ibiza Uncovered or something
Yeah,
like that, and it's
good
always
on.
stuck with me. It's always stuck with me,
It's
but
true. It's
it
true.
does still, even though I'm very thick-skinned, it does fuck me off still because,
Yeah.
you know, and it does rile me because you are only trying your best to produce the best product for somebody, you
So
know.
I spent a lot of time and effort replying to people.
Yeah, me
Uh,
too. Me too.
and to the point of actually befriending people who were slagging me off. I mean, somebody made a video about me in Blackpool because I was doing an event in North Pier in a bar that's traditionally a cabaret bar, and I transformed it for the night and called it Peer Pressure, and put on Perupa from Italy,
Yeah, yeah.
Arius Cyrossian. I had like real underground house
Good
warehouse
names, good
vibes.
quality names. Yeah.
And there was people that know me locally. I don't, I don't know them, but they were making trolling videos. They were going to the extremes of actually doing like parody videos about me. Oh, where's the next gig gonna be in a fucking bouncy castle? What's wrong with you guys? I know it's not your cup of tea, but I'm not asked. So I spent a lot of time responding. And one of the guys who used to slag me off, he's a bit of a lad about town. Anyway, I befriended him. I was so fucking nice to him that I was like, I don't understand why you're giving me the level of abuse you're giving me when I feel it's completely unjustified. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to let you into my life. and I'm going to let you see the real me, my family, my kids, my dog, my house. And also, because you think I'm a shit DJ, I'm going to do a night for my 25th anniversary of being a DJ. I'm just going to play vinyl. How about that? And then why don't you come and have a drink with me? You can come behind the DJ box. Come and be my mate for the night. He apologized the next day on social media. He literally took to the Facebook and the Insta. He said, "I've got to say, I've been a bit of a twat to him. I've called him all the names under the sun, and all my mates jumped on the bandwagon." He said, "I watched him DJ last night on the vinyl." He said, "I was astounded how good he was." That's just one person. There's fucking hundreds of people that were giving me shit in the day. And like yourself, I'm very thick-skinned, but some of it does cut personally. And that's what I mean. I had some lunatic a couple of weeks ago. I'll not say his name because he doesn't need any oxygen, that's for sure. But he took a picture of my daughter and put it on social media, and I was like, "Whoa!" And my daughter then chipped in. She's going, "You need your hard drive checking, mate. This is," and to go to that level. And I did respond to him, and I found a picture of his daughter, and I sent it to him, and I said, "How do you think your little girl will feel about you saying what you said about my daughter?" So I didn't slag him off. I didn't belittle his daughter, because, but I just felt I needed to say something.
Yeah, it's given like this.
It's
Social
disgusting.
media's given them this channel to vent pure. It is anger, frustration, jealousy.
Even
I
after
don't know.
me doing all that, the guy carried on and carried on. So I just went block,
Yeah,
block,
yeah.
block.
But
And the block button is very liberating.
Oh yes, I've blocked many, many, many people over the year and removed many people from pages as well, because I just don't think they should, if you can't please everybody, maybe this just isn't for you, you know? Just I'd rather you not be in our environment where we're trying to make something positive, but you're feeding negative energy into it. So
Yeah,
just
it's hard.
remove it, and
It's
if
hard enough to make a bloody living as it is without the cloud, the darkness of people's dark thoughts. It's a very positive industry. This, the being a DJ, I got into being a DJ because I love the music. It was always about the music, and the money came when I got better, when I got more successful, and I played bigger venues, and I started making music. The money was then a byproduct of that. To this day, I'm in my 50s now. I would still do a big gig for nothing or for little money just because of how passionate I am about playing music to the right people in the right environment. That's priceless. That is priceless.
do you remember you said Graham Park? Did you see the video he made today
No.
about Nottingham? I'll jump on Facebook after.
Well, he used to
He,
be in. Then he was at uni there, wasn't
he
he?
said,
Record shop.
41 years later, I'm in a car driving to Nottingham, and I'm excited about playing in Nottingham. He goes, 41 years, and I'm still excited about
Yeah.
it. And then he hit some road block or something, and he had to switch off. But check Facebook out afterwards.
Yeah, I'll have a
And
look.
that's that's what music can do, isn't it? So now I want to jump onto something else as well, because I know nothing about this, but I know it's a big part of your life. The Syndicate. What was the Syndicate? For a lot of people won't know what it is, and a lot of people will know what it is.
Yeah. I mean, the venue itself was called the Hippodrome in Blackpool, and it was an old theatre from the early 1900s.
Okay.
And it was a beautiful big amphitheatre of a place. Then it became the ABC Cinema, and it was the first Dolby cinema in the world, apparently. It had all Dolby paneling on the roof and on the ceiling. And, if it wasn't in the world, it was certainly in Europe, if not the UK. But, we had people come from Dolby to take pictures and stuff. Oh, gosh, yeah, look at this. So we made a feature of that ceiling. There was a family called the Nordwins in Blackpool who had done a lot of things within the past. I was working over in Thailand at the time, Ministry of Sound in Bangkok. And they said, "Oh, you've got to come back to Blackpool. We bought the old ABC." And I was like, I'm living in Bangkok, working for arguably the world's most well-known club brand, tax-free, on the 19th floor of this amazing apartment. Young single guy, no kids, no mortgage, no nothing. You want me to leave all this, come back to Blackpool, start paying tax and blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't until I walked in the doors of the gaff, I was never doing it. I was like, no, I'm never leaving Bangkok. I'm in one of the powerhouse cities of the world, having the time of my life, DJing in Singapore and Vietnam and India and China. And, Australia was just about to come on the
Was this
card.
all for Ministry of Sound? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And I was like, why do I want to leave this and go back to Blackpool? And I love Blackpool, but I was like, nah. And from what I talked about before, Blackpool was still in the tail end of the highly publicized drug death. So I just wasn't feeling it. And anyway, they were lucky that the club had to close for 5 days in Bangkok for a Buddha holiday. So I rang them up and I said, I tell you what, pay for my flights. I'll come home and have a look at it and we'll see what happens. And I must admit, when I walked in this gaff, I was like, oh shit, this is big. It's the biggest club. I mean, I've done the Hippodrome in London. I was the resident there for a while and done some big sheds, as well as Ministry London and places up north, big old clubs back in the day. I walked in this place and I was just like, let me grab the picture if I can just get this out of the way. And that is the frontage. If I can get it without the, it looks immense. It was huge, big. Somebody got me that Christmas present.
How many people did it fit?
5,100, 5,200. The main arena was about 3,000, 3 and a bit thousand. So it was a bit like Amnesia. What Beast
Yeah.
It had that kind of that feel. And I remember walking into the main room and looking and just like, and it was still being built at the time, you could still see the cinema seating and the big screen at the back was still there. And I was like looking at the screen going, oh, that's perfect. Yeah, we'll put the DJ there. And I already started envisaging. And she said, look, Sandra, the owner, she said, we want you to come and spec it. And, how do you think, where do you think we should put the DJ box and where should we do this and do that? And it became that I was emotionally invested in it as well as, forgetting about how good a time I was having in Thailand at the time. I saw what they were trying to do with it. And I said to her, look, I'll do this, but there's conditions, and it's financially we'll have to sort something out because I'm on a bloody lot of money in Thailand, and playing all over Asia as well. So you're gonna have to get your checkbook out. But for me, more importantly, you can't have a 5,000 capacity venue in Blackpool and not have talent.
Yeah,
to be talent driven.
What year was this?
So that I looked at that club for the first time in 2002. They were building it in 2002. So, we were on the tail end of the 90s.
Yeah.
And Blackpool, the 90s scene was still popping off everywhere. Cream was, big in Liverpool at the time. There was Gatecrasher, Gods, Passion. There was the big nights in London. There was the big nights in Glasgow at the Arches. So the club scene was really healthy in the UK.
Yeah.
However, it did feel like they were starting to move towards monthlies. And I remember that Mixmag did an article on it, or DJ Mag, one of the two, did an article on the death of weekly clubbing. And that sort of played on my mind a little bit. And then I heard Pete Tong do an article on it on Radio 1. So all this was in the back of my mind of, is this the right time to open a super club in Blackpool? Whew.
Or has it been missed by a few years?
So this is it. So I thought, you know what? Is it worth taking a punt? So I'd spoke to a lot of agents at the time because it was only ever going to work with talent. And spoke to a few DJ friends at the time, and I was like, look, if we're going to do this, we've got to do it right. And we've got to have everybody. We've got to, at the time, the biggest DJ in the world at the time, arguably, was Tiesto.
Yeah. Those boys.
Closely followed by Armin and Judge Jules was right up there at the time. 99, 2000, the Love Parade in Leeds. Wow.
Pete Tong and people like that.
Pete, obviously, yeah. So I talked to a lot of agents, and I was like, you need to see this club. I mean, to try and visualize it for people, and I'm sure you'll put some visuals out in there.
Of course I will.
It was a monstrous cavern of a room with a revolving dance floor. Don't ask why, but it had a revolving dance floor. And I built this huge big DJ box that a lot of people say, oh, that looks like BCM in Magaluf. Well, I was there for 8 seasons. So, yeah.
I was going to ask you about this. Actually.
Makes a lot of sense. And just to get a budget to put on big DJs in a big club, it was too much to not do it. So I did it. And from 2002, December the 12th, 2002, it opened, and it closed in 2011. In the first 4 years, when the Nordwind family had it, we had some good events. Frankie Knuckles, David Morales, a young David Guetta, who I don't mind saying, we only paid him $1,000.
Yeah.
Felix the House Cat and Judge Jules, Dave Pearce, Lisa Lashes, Lisa Pinup, Rob Tisserand, Savage, all the hard house and the trance names.
Yeah.
We had Ferry Corsten a couple of times, but we could never get Tiesto or Armin. And it was just, again, their rising meteorical rise when the trance scene went off, because trance 2001 to 2004-5 was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Infiltrating the charts and everything, wasn't it?
Of course.
We'd finally got a date with Tiesto, and I was like, get in. And we announced it. And then a week later, the club lost its license.
You're joking.
No. Oh, my God. Anyway, we lost the license. Because, again, it was... The police had a bee in their bonnet for the Syndicate. And the reason why was at kicking out time at 2:00, and you've got 4,500 to 5,000 people potentially kicking out. It was like Blackpool Football Club kicking out. And there was a bit of trouble in the streets, and the taxis couldn't cope, and
it was a lot of money to control from the police's side as well. Yeah.
And the police were basically saying to the family, look, unless you're willing to contribute to policing, then we're going to review your license. And ultimately what that means, for people that are in the industry will know, you've either then got to curb your opening hours or you've got to reduce your capacity. So there was a bit of that in there. They closed it down for a little while, and a guy called Paul Kinsey opened it. And I'd gone off to work for Gatecrasher at the time. So it lasted 4 years before it closed, which in Clubland is not a long time, you know that. And the guy that got hold of it, he just basically had the same vision as me. He just said, look, I want to reopen it. I've got above and beyond for the opening. I was like, whoa, that's a major booking. Oh, are you interested? I said, yeah, okay. A good time at Gatecrasher at the time. And it went off again, and it had a second wind. And in that time, we had Armin, and we had Eric Prydz, and we had Calvin Harris, and it started to go towards the EDM.
Big room sort of stuff.
Yeah. And we were putting offers in for Steve Angello and Axwell. And
yeah, I remember the era.
Young little Swedish guy called Avicii was up and coming. And I knew his manager, Jay, really well. So I was like, oh, let's get Avicii up there, you know. And then sadly, the owner of the club put some management in that just, oh my God, murdered it stone dead. And didn't want to book talent. And I was like, you cannot. And again, I'll repeat what I said to the Nordwinds when they opened it. You cannot open a 5,000 capacity nightclub in Blackpool and expect people just to go. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah. I mean, when you were talking to agents about a super club in Blackpool, were they like, huh?
Thought I was bonkers.
I bet that took some talking to get the bookings.
Well, the good thing was, because I was doing the bookings for Ministry in Bangkok, and we were having Van Dyke and Tongi played it a couple of times. We'd had Roger Sanchez. We were looking at Fatboy Slim and Tiesto and people like that. Because I was in their conversations
you
already.
had credibility. Yeah.
the credibility was there for talking to them about Blackpool, and Blackpool took 3 years to get anybody decent. When I say that's disrespectful to everybody we had in the first 3 years, I suppose. But yeah, when I say decent, I mean somebody that's
Superstar.
real
Superstar.
big
Yeah,
superstar
yeah, yeah, yeah,
touring
yeah, yeah.
worldwide DJs. It took a
Well,
long time.
you know what it is like now that so many DJs won't play certain venues. And
It's
it's just
great.
like some DJs won't play San An. Some people only play Ibiza towns. Like, I mean, it's just it's really, really difficult. By the way, there's a massive party going on outside
Sounds good.
my office at the moment. Obviously it's that's where the fireworks are going off, so you'll probably have this over the edit. Um but yeah, it's very difficult to get DJs to it's not the DJs, it's the agents and the management half the time. They're like, I am not putting them in Blackpool.
Yeah, there was
Yeah,
lots.
I bet you had lots of that, yeah?
Well, not just agents. I had so what we did was we to establish more credibility, we approached people like Simon Rain at Gatecrasher and Dave Lee at Slinky and God's Kitchen. The first booking we had with Armin was via God's Kitchen.
Yeah.
Basically, he was playing in Birmingham early and he came to us late, and we had to make it a God's Kitchen event. Which I
Okay.
had no problem doing that
No,
whatsoever. So,
no.
give them a brand fee, we get Armin, win-win. Because the second time I had Armin, it was Syndicate presents Armin van Buren,
But
which
you got him in the door. It's yeah.
that's it. So you've got to use your contacts and your relationships. I mean, one of the biggest artists, and I say biggest event for us that made me smile was the Essential Mix live.
Radio 1. This is the Essential Mix on tour.
To finish our winter tour on Radio 1, the Essential Mix is live from the Syndicate in Blackpool.
Because the Essential Mix is, and probably still is, revered from back in the day. So, and what makes me smile about it is I got that being off my conquer in Ibiza with the head of events of Radio.
It's usually the way, though. Well, it was the way. It was the
I'll
way.
not name names, but because he's a lovely guy.
The link is still available, yeah.
Yeah, you can still listen to that.
I'll whack it into. I'll whack it into the descriptions below.
It's Pete Tong live, the 14th of February 2004 from the Syndicate, and even to this day, when I listen back to it, and Pete Tong goes, "It's live, Radio 1 Essential Mix from the Syndicate in Blackpool," and everybody's like,
goosebumps,
and it gives me goosebumps because wow, the Essential Mix coming to Blackpool was just biblical.
They really recorded them well back then because they had the crowd noise, and it was just like some of the stuff that like Jules's one at Speak Airport with Creamfields.
Yeah,
it's stuff of legend now, you know.
Well, do you know, speaking of Jules, like the live broadcast of the Leeds Love Parade, a big turning point in my career. I'd have probably been more known as a resident DJ in normal clubs if it wasn't for Judge Jules playing my remix of the Love Parade at the Leeds Love Parade in 2000, and listening back to that, and it's deafening, the crowd noise. It's like, wow. And there was something like 250, 300,000 people in Roundhay Park that day. And of course, he opens with DJ Fubar, the Love Parade, and it's my remix of the old Who thing.
Yeah.
That reaction, mate, I was getting offers after that to play in South Africa, Australia, America, all because of that one remix that I did. And I only did it because I was DJing in Leeds the year before and I found out about the Love Parade. So it's weird how things snowball, isn't it?
It's especially in the world that we live in. And let's get on to BCM in Mallorca. Obviously, I'm very familiar with the Balearics, with Ibiza. What made you discover the Mallorca side of things?
So I did my first summer abroad as soon as I left the Navy, and I did my first couple of gigs here. I didn't enjoy the gigs that I was doing, and I got offered a gig in Corfu in '93. And while I was in Corfu, a pal of mine was a rep for 20s holiday company.
I know
in
them.
Mallorca.
Yeah, I know the 20s. I know Club 80, 20s, Escapades.
Yeah, all them lot.
All that
Club
lot, yeah.
Freestyle. And,
Yeah, all good friends of mine.
The good old days.
We converted a few of them. We got them sacked.
Oh, yeah.
It used to it used to be. Do you remember? It used to be a bit worker against reppy. It used to be a little bit of friction. But some of them turned to the dark side and got sacked from being a rep and become one of us.
Because, yeah. Oh, I had a lot of the when I first went to Mallorca, I had a lot of friction with 1830 because I would not let the 1830 reps on the mic because they were crap.
Ah, yes.
Right, moving on to next bar now. Come on.
Wasn't Jonathan Ulysses at 1830 rep?
Yeah,
he was, wasn't he? Because
Yeah.
that's how he got into DJing in Ibiza.
There's a few of them that are quite well established DJs now that were reps originally, you know, which is great because you do anything
yeah.
wouldn't you?
So you ended up at BCM through being a rep.
So no. So I was DJing in Corfu in 1993, and one of my friends was a rep in Mallorca, and he was saying, "Don't go to Corfu; it's a shithole. Come over to Magaluf. It's much better over here. The clubs are amazing. The
Loads of women,
loads of money. Come on."
The good old days.
He made some introductions for me, and I actually went over to Mallorca in February of '94. And I got a job in a little pub called the Prince William, and he said, "Well, when the club opens, you can DJ in the club." A club called Heroes, and I hated Prince William. Oh my God, it was such a shithole. But I was in Mallorca; it was a better place. First time ever going to Spain. I'd never been in Spain in my life before, and I did really well at the bar and the club especially. And then a couple of friends of mine who I used to play football with suggested I speak to Des
Mitchell.
Des Mitchell, and see if we can get you a foot in the door. He said, because where you're playing, you're wasted. And I was like, oh, it's very kind of you to say so. So I got the chance to go and speak to the legendary Tony Palmer, who was the manager, and I said to him, look, you know, I'm working in the resort and I'm not enjoying it. It's either I go home or I get a job here. So I'm hopeful that you're gonna, you know, give me a job. He did. He put me in the party place downstairs to begin with, and I didn't care. I was like, I'm in BCM. And then luckily for me, Des Mitchell was off to Japan to work, and they said, can you play upstairs for the rest of the summer? And this was late September. And of course, back in the days then, you'd get to the end of October if you stayed open. And I said, oh, when are you going to close the club? He went, when you go home.
Yeah. It used to be like that.
I don't want to go home.
In Ibiza, even when space closed, which was end of September, October, we would still go through October.
Yeah.
At the West End, I remember closing my bars when I was running bars, end of October, and we were doing 7 days a week then, wasn't it? You know,
it was brilliant.
It was brutal. Then you couldn't sleep at all for the first couple of weeks. You're like, oh, because
the one thing about being, 94, I was 21 years old. I had my 21st birthday in Magaluf, and then I got to play at BCM, and I was, you know, and everybody was playing at BCM, you know. Carl Cox had a weekly night there.
Yeah, they were jumping backwards and forwards, weren't they, from Ibiza?
Jules had his judgment night there. It wasn't Judgment Day, but, you know, they had everybody playing there, and it was a real eye-opener as to, you know, and I was very blessed to be able to play a club of that stature so early in my career.
Yeah.
And stupidly enough, I didn't go back the next year. I had to wait another year till I fell out with another club owner in Blackpool before I went back.
Why did you go back?
I met a girl.
Ah, dear. It's always the way, isn't it?
It was the owner's daughter of the club I was playing at in Blackpool.
No one you fell out with them.
So I spent a couple of years with them, and then I went back to Mallorca. So I did 6 full seasons in Spain, in Mallorca, and I played a little bit in Ibiza, because what we talk about, the 1830 lot, they used to do some quite good parties in Ibiza in the
Very
zoo.
good parties. Yeah.
No, in Es Paradis.
You're talking about Sundance
and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
John Davis and that lot.
yeah, I know John. I know John Davis, and it's the Sundance days, and yeah, they were great. I mean, if it wasn't for Club 80 to 30, I mean, they brought a phenomenal amount of numbers over to the island. I mean,
Yeah.
and I've recently seen Kirk Field posted a couple of their adverts recently for.
Oh yeah, wild man.
Did you see them?
I've seen it. How they got away with all that, I don't know.
Could you imagine doing that now?
No chance.
You'd absolutely no chance in the world. And because
it's like a week in Ibiza,
49 quid or something, 149. And I was working in nightlife and very fortunate to be in nightlife when it was trance with Alex Ellinger, Dermot C, Slipmat was coming over every Wednesday, and we're Club 30 a lot. And the shit that used to go on. I mean, and you could not. I mean, I think they ended up first started banning the bar crawls because they were so powerful.
Yeah, they did it in Mallorca as well. They banned them in Mallorca.
So powerful because they would literally go from one bar to another bar to another bar for an hour, each. And and we used to have to open nightlife early for a couple of them, especially like the Dutch or Swedish, or it was another nationality.
Their own version of it, didn't they?
Yeah, but they weren't very heavy drinkers.
No,
and we had to open early for them because they would be too pissed.
Yeah.
So, but the thing that, I mean, you were forcing people to get drunk and fucked up and do over-sexualized things that would get you in serious fucking trouble today. I know, it's a shame, isn't it?
There's rules in the UK now on you cannot pour liquid into somebody's mouth. That's part of a condition of licensing now. So, the old days of pouring beer and spirits, getting 2 bottles.
Oh, yeah.
Do that in a bar for example, in Blackpool, somebody filmed it, I'd get my license.
Of course, you've had to go through licensing and everything, haven't you?
Of course, yeah. That's the difference with Spain and the UK. In Spain, you don't need a bar license, you only need a music license.
Weird that. I mean, I ran several bars in Ibiza, and I didn't have a license. I mean, I couldn't have a license at the time. I think I still had a criminal record at the bloody time, from the UK. So there's no way I would have had one for like drink driving or something stupid, So I would never have been granted one. And but yeah, you could literally anyone could go to Spain and get a bar.
Yeah.
And look at Benidorm.
Oh yeah, well there's a classic example, Yeah.
Like I spent a couple of winters in mainland, and it was after the Ibiza summers. We popped over and we spent a couple of them in Altea, and we spent a lot of time in Benidorm. I got nothing against it. We were heavy drinkers at the time, so it was fucking perfect for us. Like €1 a pint from the Piccadilly, and it was amazing because it was so busy. They would have bars like Leeds City United bar.
Yeah. Geordie bars and Glasgow bars.
So you're narrowing your niche to a football club, and they were still making money.
Still ramped.
Absolutely ramped. I never forget when I went down. There's the one place I worked at. It was a Moby Dick's or something. I did a few shifts, and this is the amount of beer they sold, right? When I went down to the guy was showing me the cellar. They didn't have kegs. They had these tanks.
Yeah.
I've never seen these in Ibiza ever. I've never seen these. They had these tanks that would probably be like the size of this length of this room, and they go, "Oh, that's the beer," and I'm just like,
"Yeah,
what in the hell?"
Different world, Benidorm. I only went for the first time this year.
Really.
And I've been 3 times.
I used to love it there. I was brought up quite close to it as well as a child, but at its peak, it was. You can't really describe it. They're saying it's a bit quieter now, aren't they? But I think everywhere is.
Oh, if that's quiet, I wish Blackpool had half of what Benidorm's got. When you talk about like Ibiza and Mallorca in the 90s, I went there in '94 and I did my first gig in Ibiza in '94. Again, you're still at the birth of what I mean. I know Ibiza's been going since the 70s, but witnessing the change, and I think 1830 actually had a lot of play in that because of the amount of people they used to take over there. The atmosphere in the clubs in Mallorca, in Ibiza, then was incredible. If you could bottle that up and open it for everybody now, be a millionaire.
It was
You know,
it was all new, and
Manumission in its day, and Pasha in its day, and Amnesia in its day. It was just incredible.
I saw the decline because we had some really good years, and we were making good money just from workers' parties, and we were doing morning events. So we were doing space in the mornings. We were doing brothels and swingers clubs, all these mad venues all around Ibiza in the mornings, and I went away. It was actually Altea where I was working, and somebody showed me this thing called Facebook, and I was just like, "Oh, are you?" And I just signed in, and that year I saw the Zoo Project using it to advertise, and they're one of the early adopters, and it fucking worked for them. You know,
Yeah.
they went shoom. And
Facebook was incredible.
and then I said to someone that year, this isn't good because not a lot of people know about Ibiza, what goes on. They can't see into it. But this is giving them a telescope straight into the world of Ibiza, into their living rooms, and you're going to get everybody that you don't want coming.
Yeah,
and within 2-3 years, changed. The whole everything shifted.
I remember the change. I remember
Yeah.
it was almost like, you know, when all the superclubs sort of, all the UK branded clubs all pulled out,
and the VIP started,
and then the VIP started. Yeah, it was a very strange time that, and to the point of where I didn't actually enjoy playing Ibiza at the time. You know, and it still had the charm and the magic. And I think I would say that when DC-10 first opened, it pulled the art back a little bit, you know, because that was very raw and very gritty.
Those first few years of DC was just like nothing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Some of the stuff that went on in there were just unreal. And it was the only, I literally would go into DC-10. I could not name one tune that was being played. You could not name a tune that was being played there. Now if you go, everyone's into that sound. Well,
you know, last year I went to the closing party of Ants Ushuaia, and I've been to Ushuaia a few times, and all I ever heard of nights like Ants, oh, it's so underground, it's so this, it's techno, it's cool, it's that. And I stood, I must have lasted 20-30 minutes, and I couldn't hack it. And it was, I couldn't hack how busy it was. That was the first thing. So I went up to Ushuaia Tower and just sat above and looked down and watched it and listened to the music. And I was gobsmacked at how commercial it was.
Yeah.
Pump Up the Jam and Robin S. Show Me Love in some kind of tech house vibe. And, you know, and it was just regurgitated 90s.
Well, you're a producer, and I've spoken to a lot of producers on here. And so this is going to be a good question. Has production has now got lazy? It's just remix after remix after remix. And I spoke to Ian Van Douw the other day, who obviously has made a lot of originals, and he's one of many who have said this over the last few months, that people aren't making original music anymore.
No.
And they can't take ownership of that music. You know, not like an Ian Van Douw, because I don't know whether you know Ian, but he's Christoph. He does movie music, gaming music, all sorts of different DJ names. I had no idea he'd made some of the tracks he'd made. And this all comes out on a podcast soon, and I'm looking forward to release it because a few people are going to be quite surprised. But he said, it's just like no one is making their own music anymore, and now AI's here.
I've had tracks in the last 5 years signed to major UK labels under different names, and I've had a reasonable amount of success. I've worked with some great vocalists, and the labels, what they actually want compared to what is actually big on the radio is light years apart. Because they still want to sign acts, they still want to sign, you know, talent, but And I've had big labels say to me, "We're not signing any cover versions. We're not signing anything with a sample or with a covered vocal or
Yeah,
this."
yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, a month later, all of the labels of that I talk about, I could name labels, but I was still in the industry, so I don't want to burn too many bridges.
Releasing covers.
All of them have got, right, that's got a 90s riff in it, that's got a
Yeah.
sample, that's got Crystal Waters, that's got Robin S, that's got Sandy B riff, that's got this, that. And I'm sat there scratching my head. And as I get older, I'm thinking, I know this is not the cover version look that they want anymore. You know, I'm a middle-aged guy with grey in my beard and I have to wear glasses to see. I'm not their demographic.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not their customers' demographic, you know, and I've watched people who I knew in the industry grow very quickly and do really well because they've got a certain look. And it comes back to full circle when we talk about female DJs getting grip, because of how they look, the misogyny in the industry. There's also a double-edged sword to that, as labels want a pretty face, they want a pretty girl,
And some of them are very attractive. You've got to admit, they are very good-looking girls. Several of them are ex-models, with very successful careers, but are also talented musically as well. I'm looking after an artist at the moment. She's been spinning vinyl since she was 16, and she looks very young, and she's getting the misogyny now because she's getting big bookings and stuff like that. But she looks young.
A good place to pick on is Dubai. I went to Dubai to try and get some work when we were in lockdowns. Because I've got a lot of contacts over there, and I've actually booked a lot of talent into Dubai for Dubai club owners. I've played in Dubai since '99, before it all sprouted up. And so I went over there and I spoke to one of my really good friends who supplies DJs to hotels, and I said to him, "Look, you know, it's all dried up in the UK. COVID's murdering the industry. I can't open my bar. Can you get me any gigs?" And he said, "Jay," "you're one of the best DJs I've ever seen. But being a good DJ is not what they're looking for. They're looking for a girl that can come and competently spin Afro house to a restaurant crowd, even in a club." And I was quite gobsmacked by that. I wasn't offended by it, because at the end of the day, that's what they want. That's the customer, you know. And where I feel sorry for a lot of talented DJs who are women, who are really bloody good DJs, are getting edged. And we've all seen the social media videos of the models swishing their hair around in very skimpy outfits,
Labeling them. Yeah.
And labeling, and unfortunately, a lot of the really good female DJs, I know it's a tough one to, I know there's a lot of girls that don't like being called a female DJ. They're just a DJ at the end of the day. The unfortunate thing is the industry is awash with the other narrative being pushed, which is
the fake narrative.
The fake narrative of looking good is more important than what comes out of
looking good. Ghost produce pre-recorded sets.
50-something-year-old DJ who none of them could lace my boots. You know, the ones that I've seen, the fakies, you know, they couldn't mix a sponge cake, half of them. And trying to stay relative in a younger person's market, but at the same time seeing people like Carl Cox, and all the older DJs are now in their late 50s and 60s, and they're so in demand. And it's almost become quite hypocritical of, like, you know, you say you want this, but then you want that. And, you know, these guys are flourishing because they're absolute legends, and fair play. Power to the guys that have been the heavyweights for so long, that they've still got this amazing career playing around the world. And I actually feel sorry for anybody up and coming at the moment, because getting through the cloud and making we talked about this before. You've got to make music, look good, be a good DJ. It's just it's too much
social media numbers,
social media numbers,
which
so much
I
pressure.
think now that variable, I think people are seeing through now, and I think people are not really paying as much. I'm seeing more and more promoters not paying much attention to those numbers, because those numbers are so easily manipulated. From Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook numbers, everything can be manipulated.
Well, you know that saying, don't you? Fake it till you make it.
It used to be a tactic to get a brand new Instagram account off of the ground, because people would never follow an account with 0 people. You'd always buy a couple of thousand people, because it would look okay, and they would slowly be removed. I think even some of our more successful accounts started off with fake followers. I'd never do it now. Did you remember when that Facebook it was a website came out that you could put a Facebook URL in, and it would tell you where it got bought by someone very famous. No one knows who it is. It was up for only a few weeks. Do you remember? And it was like, we were putting these DJ names in. I was just like that. It's got like 5% real.
I did it myself, mate. I did it myself.
Yeah. But did you notice it disappeared? The website.
One of those big DJs definitely bought it.
It got bought very, very, very quickly, and so did the software, because I haven't seen it pop up since. But yeah, we've been chatting for a while now. Let's finish up on a very big question. If you had one more tune to play, what would it be and why?
Ooh, and it's a great question, and I get asked this a lot. At gigs, like, what's your last tune of the night?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, that's mostly what people remember.
One more tune. So right. Me Dirty Rotten DJs, I always used to say to them, just make sure the last 20 minutes are fucking something that I'll never forget.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But for me, it's always got to be something that, depending on the crowd, if it's a trance crowd, it's generally something that's very classic, euphoric, Solar Cities, seven.
Yeah. Classic.
Solar Stone, sorry, 7 Cities.
Yeah.
God, Delirium Silence is always a party pleaser. I mean, I know there's people that are sick of tunes like that.
But not at the end of the night,
But, the original Barber Adagio for strings, the Ferry Corsten remix of William Orbit's version, for me, just, it's so emotional, so intense. In the house crowd, the house side of things, I would nearly always finish on The Source featuring Candy Staton, You Got the Love.
Okay.
That sing-along euphoria at the end.
Brilliant.
The original with the Frankie Knuckles, riff through it. That's always been my go-to, as far as tracks. And of course, the entire version from start to finish of Faithless Insomnia.
Yeah. I've heard that a few times. What are you playing nowadays? Are you playing mainly classics or house or trance?
At the moment, I mean, I still have a radio show, which I delve into the new stuff, and I play 70-80% new music. And it's stuff like Max Dean and Luke Dean and Prosper, and a lot of new house music. I surf Beatport a little bit, and I listen to Radio 1 a lot still, even at 52 years old. And my Shazam is hot as anything. I'll hear a good tune, I'll go, oh yeah, I like that. The good thing about going to Shazam, I've got a reference, I know where it is. But when I play out, because I've got a bar that's called the Retro Lounge, it's kind of the only place I play at the moment, other than when I do other gigs in Ibiza.
Who plays at the other bar, or is it just the sound system?
It's I have a local guy who does R&B, hip hop. I mean, first 8 months of that bar, I did it myself.
How do you find that?
And I was playing Bob Marley and UB40 and and Beyonce and Rihanna and Sean Paul and all that, because
it's not easy to mix, is it?
Oh no, no. I mean, I've always had this. I'm a musical geek. I am actually a walking encyclopedia of dance music. But I'm the sort of guy that you hear the first 2-3 beats of a record, I can tell you what it is.
Yeah, multi-genred.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I've been obsessed with that since I was probably 14 years old. So playing out, my ultimate favorite to play out is just pure nice house music that's uplifting, vocal, nice, beefy, a bit tribally.
Mm.
But my inner superstar DJ is 100% trance anthems.
Yeah.
You just cannot beat that euphoria. Saturday, just gone in the bar, we thought it'd be dead. And I said to my regular DJ, if you play from 7 p.m. till about 11, I'll keep an eye on the cameras. And if it's starting to get a bit busy, I'll come down. I went down and did 3 hours of trance anthems.
Mad.
It was amazing.
They love it. And they're all older people spending money, and the kids are they don't understand that a lot of the riffs they're hearing now are from old classic trance songs, and they're getting into it. They're getting into the music. My little toddlers love trance.
Yeah.
It's just got something about it, hasn't it?
My daughter, 23, travels everywhere for music. She's obsessed with it. And I said, what's your favorite? She went, I just love trance anthems. And I was like, wow, what? And she's like looking at me going, Dad, it's from you, you dickhead.
Yeah.
Torturing me in the car as a kid.
Yeah. No, my kids call it my gym music because I'm always training to it. And my little one's banging to psytrance, and it's just great. But listen, I've had you for almost 2 hours, Jason. A very long one today.
Amazing.
I knew it would be because I know you had such a great history. Yeah, I forgot all about the Royal Navy stuff. And Jason, thank you very much for your time. And when are you off to Thailand? In a couple of days?
Yeah, I'm off on the 1st of January for 3 weeks. I actually got a gig in Bangkok. It's the 25th anniversary of Ministry of Sound opening over there.
You got the old Graham Golds over there, and
yeah, I know Goldie in Koh Phangan. Every time I'm over there, I bump into him. So.
Yeah, he's I've done a couple of podcasts with him. He's great. I speak to him quite a bit, and there's a few over there now, Marco Loco, and yeah, no,
it's paradise. It's
amazing. I really want to go, but I've got the kids here now and everything, but I don't really like going out anymore.
Gonna end up there for sure.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much for your time. Been a great chat, mate.
Good to hear from you, mate. All the best.